Did you have a lockdown craze? Did you get obsessed with sourdough or that weird Korean whipped coffee? Or maybe a bit of Joe Wicks each day? We've got obsessed with some really strange things over the last year, haven't we? But would you say that your Christian friends are obsessed with Jesus? Would you say that the Christian Union is obsessed with Jesus? What do you make of that? Maybe you're fine with your Christian friends being obsessed with Jesus until they made you watch this video. Maybe you're fine as long as it just stays a hobby and it doesn't impose too much on your life. Well, C.S. Lewis, who wrote the Narnia stories and is an Oxford English professor, said, "Christianity, if false, is of no importance, and if true, of infinite importance. The only thing it cannot be is moderately important." So either Christians are totally deluded with the importance of Jesus, or it's totally right to be obsessed with the person of Jesus. The only thing that Christians cannot be is moderately interested in Jesus. And today we're going to explore why it's worth Christians being obsessed with the person of Jesus. We're just going to have a little look at an eyewitness account written about 30 years after Jesus Christ was around. It'll raise questions, but do submit them and we can talk about them later. We're going to read a short instant from an eyewitness of Jesus' life. It's from an English translation, and the original manuscript was written just after Jesus walked around in Galilee, and that's in modern-day Israel. It's right near the start and it's full of action, and it's in a section that's really fast-paced as we meet Jesus for the first time. As soon as they left the synagogue, they went with James and John to the house of Simon and Andrew. Simon's mother-in-law was in bed with a fever, and they immediately told Jesus about her. So he went to her, took her by the hand and helped her up. The fever left her and she began to wait on them. That evening after sunset, the people brought to Jesus all the sick and demon-possessed. The whole town gathered at the door, and Jesus healed many who had various diseases. I wonder what you make of that. I mean, it's not like Simon's mother-in-law there had a bit of a cold or a bit of freshers flu that just needed a Lemsip. No, it wasn't even a virus that needed a trip to hospital. It didn't just need a dose of antibiotics. This was in a time where there was no NHS, no A&E, and she had a fever that was life-threatening. She was close to death. But I wonder what you make of Jesus' ability to heal her so suddenly. Immediately, Jesus takes her by the hand, and she's back to her old self. No rehab, no duvet day. It's a really sudden transformation from being close to death to being up and waiting on them, sorting dinner, making sure they've got everything they need. Jesus doesn't just speed up her healing. She doesn't just have a few days in hospital to recover from her near-death experience. She's suddenly and dramatically healed. Such is Jesus' power and authority. And then we see his power and authority over death. We see Jesus' raw power. The whole town is gathered. There's no hospitals full of people because they're all going to see Jesus. All of the ambulances reroute to where Jesus is. All of the GPs have got no patients that day because everybody is going to see Jesus. The pharmacist, he shut up shop early that day because everybody's going to see Jesus. Jesus heals everyone and displays his power and authority over sickness and death. He shows what he's like. Is that what you expected Jesus to be like? Here in Mark's Gospel, we get a little glimpse of the world that Jesus is able to create. Right at the heart of Christianity is the idea that God himself is creating a world like this, with no death or no disease. Now, I realise that's going to raise loads of questions. Where is this world that Jesus is creating, especially when we still get ill and there's still death? How do we know that this is really true? Why is Jesus able to create such a perfect world? These are all great questions for us to grapple with, but coming back to where we started, why are Christians so obsessed with Jesus? Well, do you see how it could make a bit more sense to be obsessed with this person if he can bring about a world with no death or sickness? Wouldn't it be cruel of the Christian Union not to tell you about the person of Jesus if this is what he claims? So if it really is worth Christians being obsessed with the Lord Jesus, the reason they think that is because right at the heart of the Lord Jesus is recreating a perfect world with no death and no disease. So it may look like Christianity is a bit of a lockdown obsession, but it claims to answer a lot more bigger questions than a bit of sourdough, a bit of Korean whipped coffee, or some Joe Wicks. I know we haven't answered everything, but please do stick your questions online and we can come back to them later.